Hello, everyone, and welcome to another My Music. I love Mondays because it's the start of a new week. And unlike some people, I do actually get to spend some time at the weekend doing some stuff with the children and the wife, and it's all marvelous. This weekend, uh, we even managed to get rid of an old roof box from the garden to our son, who's now driven off with it on his car. I wonder how long that will last. We will be talking to the wonderful ColourTelly. I can remember my first ever ColourTelly, and maybe we'll talk about that straight after this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
ColourTelly, thank you so much for joining me. Did you enjoy the cat dancing and all of that?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it was it's marvelous. It kind of gets you going on the day. You're in a studio there, I can see.
Yeah,
Indeed.
You've been
Our
busy.
studio in Penge.
You've been in Penge, lovely part of the world, and you've been busy, and we shall talk about that in due course. But let's talk about the name to begin with, ColourTelly, because that's a great name. Neither of you to look old enough to remember black and white TVs. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to think for a second, but no, you're correct. You're correct.
Right. So you will neither of you either remember like TVs back in the good old days, right? As I can remember when we first got our first ever color TV, and it was absolutely massive, but not like necessarily massive like they are now, big, but they were massive this way. They took half the room up. Yeah. And it used to take about probably about a good 3 or 4 minutes to actually warm up. It would start in the middle and it go,
I don't even know if I remember that, to be fair.
When they would turn off as well, they would like shoot down into a tiny, like in a circular motion, right? Like a pin spot. Yeah,
that's right, because they had cathode ray tubes, which was it. Well, are you like that, or are you like a modern telly? Are you as soon as you get going on a project or a new song or whatever, are you straight there, or do you take time to warm up into it?
I'd say from my point of view, where it's a bit of a mixture, but more often than not, actually, we're pretty good at being a modern telly these days.
Cool.
We just had a very modern telly moment, to be fair. We literally just made the
song in 40 minutes.
It was about 40 minutes to finish something, so that was good.
But last week it was a bit more of an old telly.
Yeah.
So, right. It's hit and miss, but that's music. And that's
so really today was a smart telly moment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And last week was more of your cafe ray tube. That's wonderful. But why did you choose the name ColourTelly? Go on. There must be a story behind that.
Well, we had a sort of, I don't want to say an embarrassing name, but a kind of name which was a bit like cool for school, and it never quite felt like it represented things. And have you seen Donnie Darko?
Yes.
There's that bit where they say something like the most beautiful word in the English language is cellar door, and it has this weird thing where it's like it's cellar door, but when you say it, it kind of sounds vaguely European in some way. And ColourTelly, to me, when you say ColourTelly, it kind of sounds Italian. So that was part of it. But
I love that story.
But then it also kind of,
you have to say it.
Yeah,
that's like Italian accent.
Yeah, but then I don't know. It also has. There's a lot of things about it. It's an English expression. I mean, maybe they say it in the States. I don't know, but it comes across to me as being like very English,
very London,
It'd
be very Cockney kind of vibe.
That's definitely where it came from in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's also that thing of like all of the music, in fact, is kind of made in a sort of slightly backwards, old school, dare I say, analog way. We don't record to tape, but outside of that, most things are done sort of as far away from the computer as it's practical to do them. And it kind of points a little bit at that. And yeah, I don't know. It ticked a lot of boxes.
Okay. So what you're saying is it's kind of like you feel like you were on your, in terms of the way you make your music, it's kind of like on the cusp of modern technology, but technology's obviously moved on from when we first had ColourTellys, etc. Yeah, and you're kind of at that point there where technology started to come in. You use technology, but you use it in a more touchy-feely way than perhaps, you know, sliding things around on a computer screen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a dodgy one because you sound really posh and really like elitist and snobby if you say no, I don't like using plugins. But there's just something about the sound and, like you say, the feel of older gear where it's.
Oh, do you sound posh and elitist? I would just say you sound like someone that actually finds that it's easier to do stuff with your hands. I
mean,
More
maybe.
control over it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing. I love it. I love funny old boxes, and the other side of it is it breaks. Computers, okay, they do break, but they don't break in particularly interesting ways. But old gear goes wrong, and when it goes wrong, that tends to be the best stuff. And
yeah,
people go wrong, and
well, I love the fact
life
you've got
goes wrong.
I love the fact you've got very many reasons for the name, and it's kind of multifaceted, etc. I do feel when you were talking there, especially like the Italian thing at the beginning, which was rather nice. I do feel like you need to pull that into your marketing. I mean, that could be a really nice inclusive element. You could actually put it out there as a bit of a challenge to any fans to see who could develop the best Italian dish for ColourTelly. You know, that could be good. So they could they could send their recipes to you. Yeah. And with like photos of, you know, this is my ColourTelly, you know, it's marvelous. Bonus points for handmade pasta.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel, yeah. If anyone actually ends up serving it at a restaurant, that would be great for you, wouldn't it?
That would be a really defining moment, a kind of like unknown, you know, which would you rather have, a dish or a Grammy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I love your kind of music. I love like this amazing voice with these kind of backgrounds that just allow your voice to just drift into melody, which is it's marvelous. It's marvelous. There's a lot of colorscape. There's a lot of colorscape there. How did the two of you meet? Because I think it's always interesting when you get an amazing singer and obviously somebody that's a bit of a geek and likes to play with.
And very gifted in his,
I like the geek. Let's stick with geek. Yeah.
But so how did that happen? How did you know?
I was doing some depping and just sessions for people randomly through a friend. I've been at the studio that we ended up meeting at. I've just been doing some sessions for this friend, and I just got pulled in. Ollie was looking for a vocalist and was working with them. And I think you had a couple of vocalists come and do the sessions on the project. No, not even.
No, it was literally just one of
me, and then it was like, oh, we have to keep her.
Yeah, like, something like that.
Something like that. But no, I just came to do a vocal session for him, and then about a month later, he got back in touch and was like, "Would you like to start writing together?" And it just like flourished from there, and that was back in 2018.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Ollie, for you, was it an immediate kind of like, oh my word, that's the voice I've been looking for?
Yeah, there was a bit of that. I mean, this was back in the day when basically I went through a kind of roller coaster moment, life, blah, blah, blah. Ended up doing my own, like thinking, right, I'm going to make music. And I was singing. And I'm not sure that's something that anyone really wants to hear. Anyway, I was doing all this tuning and all this stuff to try and make my voice sound good. And I remember Eve came in the studio, and it was this weird light bulb moment where it was like she started singing, and there was no tuning needed. There was no quantized. And it was like, oh, now I get how those old records were made. I know it sounds ridiculous retrospectively, the idea that things sound good if you can actually sing, but it was a bit of a light bulb moment anyway. And I remember.
So this is a bit like a Calvin Harris moment, right? Because like Calvin
What
Harris.
was that?
Well, if you've ever listened to Calvin Harris's first album, which is him singing on his album.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And it's fair, you know. but obviously I think he saw his own limitations, and like the next album he was like, I'm going to get a load of singers in on this.
Yeah.
And it was like boom, that was where his career went like that, because
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
he's a craftsman. He does what he does incredibly well.
Sure. Yeah.
But put a decent voice on top of it, and it's like it's different level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar.
But pretty much that's the story. I mean, I left out the bit where it was like I played someone the stuff with me singing on it, and they were like, no, it doesn't sound good. Literally almost as straightforwardly as that. And I kind of went, okay, let me see if that Eve person is interested in doing some stuff.
And then I got a call.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
I should have been a bit more thick-skinned, but I'm glad I wasn't. Anyway, there we go.
Do you know what I think? I think it takes a strong person to actually recognize where your gift is and go, right, that's where I need to stick. That's where I need to stick to that. You know.
That's very
and
kind.
you know what? One day you can put out something with you singing on it. It's fine.
We have actually released songs with him singing. Your voice, but then we made decisions after that to stop.
Yeah,
not to do it.
And as soon as we started doing anything live, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Do you know what? Do you know where you come out singing again? Christmas song. Simple as that.
So I get so many people telling me, so many friends who are like, you just need to write a good Christmas song.
God.
Yeah.
So maybe you're the key, Ollie. It's your voice is the key to a magical Christmas song.
Yeah, I love Christmas, so yeah.
Yeah.
Could be a thing.
Well, because you can do the whole like dum 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 dum. You can do all that. You see?
Yeah.
And,
well, what I was
and then
really
Evie can do a
hoping...
nice thing over the top, and it'll be marvelous. Yeah, it'd be great.
No, thank you, man. Cheers. Yeah, no, it's a good idea. We've only got 6 months? So no, 9 months, 8 months. Anyway, yeah,
can do it as long as it's not about a sausage roll. I don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah.
That might be the reason it goes well.
Yeah.
Just saying sausage roll. You never know.
Might be slightly out of whack with the album promotion that will hopefully be going on at that time, but maybe people will get it. So who knows?
Well, you've just kind of answered my next question. So you're heading towards an album? Is that the main sort of aim?
Oh yeah, we really are. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort, but yes, in September of this year, we've got a new record coming out.
September.
September. We'll be releasing singles leading up to that.
Yeah. Have you got a date? Have you got a date in September?
The actual date for the album release is just out of September. It's October 1st. Is actually the date.
Yeah. Is it?
Basically September.
No, guys, what you need to do though is you need to promise to come onto my show on September the 30th and just do something, right? Because that is my birthday. That's September the 30th is my birthday. Yeah, and we can do a special pre-ColourTelly album launch for my birthday.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's do it. 100%.
I'll put it in my diary now. That would be amazing. I can't wait to hear that. I honestly can't wait to hear that. What are you writing about? That's what I want to know. What are you writing about?
On the record? Wow. It's gosh. Look, It's kind of, again, like difficult, not difficult to say without sounding a bit posh, but or not posh, but a bit kind of highfalutin. It's, at least in my head, it was kind of a response to where the world is. Things like AI, the kind of rise of the far right, nuclear war, all the climate change, all of these things that are kind of feel like they're on the brink, and it's scary, no? Like it's a crazy situation. I don't think that the record, like there's not songs that go, oh bloody hell, AI, this is so fucking terrifying. But it's more about what is it to be a person in that world. And it started out as a kind of projection. Oh, let's write this record from the perspective of a kind of dystopian, person living in a dystopian world. And as we progressed, it became more and more obvious that actually we're there. And
But
yeah.
here's the thing, right? Because you managed to do that, right? But then you've got this kind of jazzy, soulful feel to your music, which kind of helps the listener to escape all of that at the same time.
And
that's quite
part of how it's been. You've utilised that exactly how you just described it. Basically, is the contrast, is how you can get lost. It can just be this distortion of distraction in your life, especially like here, sort of talking specifically more from like the viewpoint of someone in London of like whatever age, but maybe more so younger ages or whatever, but who have the distraction of social media, who have the distraction of what the news says and what they decide to put out in the newspapers and the media just overall, and just getting lost in it, and how but it can soothe your soul, but it can also make you feel completely like help you detach in some way, whether it's positive or negative.
Do we need to do that? We need to do that, don't we, to detach these days to some extent, because otherwise we're just going mad.
Human way, otherwise you just lose it. But there's also the worry of detaching too much, I guess, at the same time. So it's a push and pull kind of situation.
Do you find, and you're based in London, right? Yeah. Do you find, I mean, I live in Somerset in the country.
Oh yeah.
Right. Do you fine. Yeah, I was going to say, do you find it harder to detach being in a city? Do you think generally people that live in a city find it harder to detach? I mean, for me, if I go outside now and there's trees and then there's lakes and then I go down the road and there's the sea, to some extent it's easier to detach, and it's easier to perhaps understand that I can get away from people a little bit more, so maybe I can sense the world and not people a little bit easier than if I was living in the city. Do you think that's where do you go to kind of like go, I just need to get away from this for a minute so that I can kind of reconnect with maybe stuff that's better for my soul?
Well, we live on different sides of the city. So I live around West London and around in Ealing specifically, which is a very green part of London.
Nice.
And if I can't get out of, like, for everything you're describing, ideally leaving London is the best thing. And what most of my friends and loved ones have said, when they leave London, you get this fresh sense of relief to your mind, whether you expected it or not, or planned to have that. It just suddenly hits you, like everything that you're describing. It kind of just happens. But being able to go to the green spaces in my area does help me to detach in that way, or just get a moment of peace, I guess, for a second. But you're also still surrounded by the North Circular, so you can't really get away from it so quickly. And people are everywhere here in London. So it's hard. I think it's hard to actually get that peace.
But maybe that is why your music works so well. right?
Yeah.
Because maybe I think that we all have kind of a love-hate relationship with most of the things that we have in the modern world. I think on the one hand,
Mm.
you know, we quite enjoy the connectivity of things like the internet and social media, and the fact that it gives us access to people and conversations that we wouldn't have had. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the
Yeah.
internet, etc. But then on
Mhm.
the other hand, we know what it does when we're kind of like, you know, doom scrolling and we're fixated by certain things, and you know, and we get like triggered by stuff that's, you know. And so the fact that you've got these lyrics that are, as you say, dealing with these very big topics, but you've then got this soothingness, and your voice is just butter.
Thank you.
You know,
I'm glad it's doing his job. I'm very lucky and blessed. I don't know.
but the fact that you've got
Okay.
the fact that you've got that there, you know,
Mm.
I think actually is a really lovely reflection of where we are in the
Oh,
world
thank
right
you.
now.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Does that make sense to you? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess my response to your question would, I don't get out all that much. And I think,
You need to.
yeah, I probably should. Yeah, there's definitely that. But certainly I try and find the kind of the reconciliation in the music, you know? I don't really know another way, or a better way at least, of being able to think about the world, or deal with it, really. Is a kind of, is a way of responding to what feels like a very, very strange planet. And I'm Camberwell, which is less green and a bit more pressure cookery. And I guess there's this weird sense as well. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, do you know what we need to do? We need to
Anyway.
Ollie, we need to get you a gig at some point here down in the southwest.
Yeah, it's
Right.
got to be done, man.
Right.
Got to be done.
I mean, given your sound, Bristol would be absolutely perfect for you.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people would encourage that. But then come down a little bit south, and we'll go for fish and chips on the seafront, and we'll just take dogs for a walk on the cliffs, and you know,
got to be done. Got to be done.
you can just decompress from that pressure cooker for 5 minutes. You never know. And then maybe that will give you a reaction to this record when this record's done. Are you like that as well in terms of how you write? Do you react to the last thing you've done? When you've completed something, is the next thing that you do a reaction to the last thing that you've done, or is it a completely new idea?
I think if we're internally on a project, maybe there's a reactionary at certain points, depending on the topic and the topic that comes up in the track that's just been created.
I mean, certainly the two albums we've done, the one which is pending and the one that's come out, have been, so the first one was like 100% like a narrative thing, and that was fun, but retrospectively it was quite corsety. It was a bit much in terms of, you know, you must forward this story, that is the only thing that can be done next. Whereas this one was very much more like, this is the world that it lives in, and there's all sorts of different environments within this world, and it was much easier and more open and free. And then I guess responding to that in terms of like, oh, what's the next thing you do? Yeah, I guess there is a kind of internal sense that you've made this amazingly bleak record. Like, probably wouldn't hurt to do something a little bit more upbeat. Uplifted. Well, like, obviously uplifting, maybe. So yeah, I guess internally and externally, you're always responding to that last thing you've done.
Yeah, I think so. And you're called ColourTelly.
Exactly.
And that, and
You
there's
know?
that. Yeah.
You got to live up to the name. You've got to live up to the name.
Mm.
Do you see yourselves as from your time, or do you see yourselves as from a different era mentally? And if so, which era are you from?
Pretty current.
I'd have to agree.
There's some soul to it though. You know what I mean?
It's a funny one. Yeah, I don't. I think in a lot of ways, I definitely agree that it's a modern thing, but that, like I said earlier, there's that
Would you
kind of
like-
leaning into aspects of the old way.
Yeah.
know?
Would you like to? Okay, then let's do it another way. If you would could go back to a different decade to like experience music coming out from a different decade, which decade would you go to?
70s.
Yeah, I think I probably have to say the 70s as well.
No question about it.
Big time.
I was alive during the 90s when all of the hip hop that I love was coming out, but I was, like 0 to 10, so I wasn't big into Nas at that age. But that would be the second choice. But unquestionably, if I could be anywhere, it would be the 70s.
Well,
I wouldn't mind being alive when like Beethoven was like dropping a few bits and pieces, but like really the 70s, that was the golden era for me.
Yeah.
I was born. This is a clue for you. I was born in the year of decimalization.
That's what?
So that's 1971.
What's decimalization?
It's what. So it's when we went from pounds, shillings, and pence.
Oh, okay.
Like, so we used to have old money, and we used to have like everything was done in old measurements. So everything done in centimeters and pounds like we are today. And we decided that we weren't going to measure in feet and inches anymore. We were going to do centimeters.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's what I've learned today.
There you go. You see. So yeah, I was a child of the 70s, and I have to agree with you. I mean, I think in terms of there was definitely that sense of like adventure in terms of music, and
I mean,
well, through music and fashion and just everything that's the expressive part of society, I guess. Just be so interesting to have been around. You see rules being broken and just change that would be so. It must have just been so extreme and crazy.
Well, we had people releasing like songs that were like 10 minutes long, and they were actually getting in the charts and stuff like that, and it was all fine,
Yeah.
Imagine like going to a record shop and buying this new record called "What's Going On" by Marvin Gaye, and listening to that. You'd be like, "What the?" I mean,
my father had a first edition of that record that I found. And he passed away in December, sadly. Well, I'm not going to give you that, but sadly, it's the one record that he had. His collection was massive, and I found this record, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Pulled it out. He's dropped it at some point, and it's lost the first track on both sides. It kills me. It kills me.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's really bad, but he's kept it, so I've kept it. Because but you can't listen to the first song on A or B either side, which is killer.
Yeah, but you know what? With
That's
your
not
voice,
how Marvin intended it. For sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing: with your voice, you can sing it, so it doesn't matter.
True, but can't stand up to that man. Oh my gosh!
What a great album that is. What an absolutely great album it is. What a great time! And listen, I could talk to you all day, but we can't. So thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit of what it is to be in ColourTelly. and we definitely look forward to the album. Are there any things that you are doing right now that you would like to announce to the world so that we can, get people's eyes on?
Well, the first single comes out at the end of July. Is it 23rd, 24th?
Yes.
That's a big one. I'm not going to say too much more about it, but that's kind of we're we're working on new music, but that obviously is kind of a little bit down the line. Lots of exciting collaborations and things.
Yeah.
But in terms of what's the next big kind of landmark moment, first single of the record, 23rd, 24th July. That's the thing.
It.
That's
Cool.
the moment.
Cool. And then next year we get you down this way, fish and chips on the beach, and then your slot at Glastonbury, which is only a stone's throw away as well.
Casually
Right.
done. Yeah. 100%.
Who would you like to go on just before at Glastonbury? Who would be the dream so that you could have a little chat sort of as you come on and off?
I think the current artist, it wouldn't align in any way. I don't think our sound to hers, but it would be really cool to be on before Tochi.
Oh yeah,
that would be ridiculous.
That's a good choice. I would probably have said the El Michaels Affair or Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good music, man. There's a lot of good music. This is
also an amazing time to be around, guys.
Yeah.
Seriously. We're talking about the 70s and how empowering and just crazy the music was. Like, there's a huge reflection of that happening now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'd say? I'd actually say that this is an absolutely amazing time for music. I think one of the problems is that the saturation of music and the very poor curation of music by algorithms just means that there's a lot of people with very rose-tinted glasses looking back at the past and going, "Oh, there's nothing good out there at the moment." Mind you, every generation's done that to a certain extent.
Yeah, of course.
But it's probably a little bit more than usual because it just seems too much.
Yes, too vast.
People have to try and navigate all of that. We used to queue at Woolworths and whatever, and there were like 30 singles there, and that was it. It was like, which one of those, which one are you picking this week? Nowadays it's like, what 2,000 new songs were dropped today or in this minute,
last 10 minutes.
It's crazy. So it is a great time, and there is, as always, there is some amazing talent out there. All I can do is try and bring some of it to people so that they can see it, and then they can go and spend some time listening to it.
Oh, bless you, man. Thank you.
That's all we can do. ColourTelly, you've been an absolutely amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for explaining where the name came from and telling us a little bit about your beliefs and your music and everything else. And I do look forward to seeing more of you in the future. Folks, I hope you enjoy their music. We will be adding some of their music to the My Music podcast playlist to make it easier for you to find it. And if you've enjoyed this episode, do remember to share it, rate the show, and all of that sort of thing that you have to do these days in order to keep the people at Spotify and everywhere else happy. And we'll be back soon with more of the same. Until then, from ColourTelly and me, bye for now.